Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 3 of Let's Jam. Again, in the co-captain's chair, I have Chris Samardich. He will be joining us today, taking us on our journey. This time, we're starting with the 70s. So we're going to do that. So thank you, Chris. And you did a great job last time. So Chris has everything all set up for us. But I just want to go through, as we usually do on this show, a couple of the new releases that are coming out. And what we have first, this is a band Spofford. I saw them back in February, I believe, and they have a new vinyl only release coming out, and this is Vinyl Wax 4. I believe it's 2 tracks, 2 side-long tracks, live from a live show. Great band, so check them out live. Check this one out if you have a chance. The next one up, these are the old Space Warriors, Hawkwind. There is no space for us. This one, I believe, came out at the end of April, but I missed it on the last episode, so I wanted to make sure we touched on them. Hawkwind's been around forever, kind of a fan favorite. And then we
It's a new
also have,
release.
do you know
Is
them?
this new? Is this a new release?
It's a new release, came out in
Oh,
April.
cool.
And then finally, for the new releases, band called Sun Squabby. This is an EP, not necessarily a new release. I think this came out at the end of 2024, but again, I missed this one the first time around. So I wanted to make sure to bring them up. And as far as I know, that's all I could find for new releases. We talked about Goose on the last one. I believe theirs was coming out at the end of the month. So that wraps up the new releases. I did want to mention some quick news. Chris Myers, the drummer for Humphreys McGee, announced his departure from the band. Chris has been with them for 22 years. Amazing
Mm.
drummer. I'm a big fan of his work with Kick the Cat, which was his fusion band that he played with on the side when he was playing with Humphreys McGee. But the band already has 2 drummers lined up, so there aren't going to be any tour dates canceled. They're going to be playing with the band that I mentioned previously from Sun Squabby. I believe it's Scott Zwabi is going to be playing a few shows with them in Florida. And then Dwayne Trucks from Widespread Panic is going to be
Oh, yeah.
playing the rest of the 2025 tour dates with them. So Chris will be missed. Fantastic drummer. Best of luck to him. But they've got some guys lined up, so they should be ready to go. And check them out this summer. I'll be seeing them in July, so I'm looking forward to that. So Chris, I'm going to turn this back over to you, and we're going to get into, we did the 60s on the previous episode. We're going to get right into the 70s and dive into see what you've got for us.
Yeah, once again, it's a pleasure to be on Sea of Tranquility and started listening to Pete back in 2017 and I started to realize, wow, I've seen all these bands these guys are talking about, So we're gonna delve into these shows I went to and the jam band scene back then. Okay, so let's go do this slideshow thing. Okay, and here we go. I'm going to share screen right now. Okay, so there I am, and then we're going to go over to the slideshow. Okay, and I don't see the toolbar in there, so I think we're clean, huh?
It's still us.
Oh, it is?
No, yeah, I don't see the slideshow as of yet.
Oh, shit. Share. Oh,
There we
how about
go.
now?
Okay, it's
Okay,
coming.
okay,
There we
now
go.
there's the toolbar. I got to get rid of it. So let me go over here. Great. Okay, and then let me come back here. All right, so this is the first slide. Here we go. And so it's 1970 basically, and Woodstock had just ended. Okay, so the record companies realized that this music is the big thing, this album rock. There's FM radio stations everywhere in the country, and bands are creating album rock. And what's going on is the record companies want you to make a single for FM radio or AM radio, but the bands want to do like these long extended jams, which they do on all their records. But they're kind of limited to like one song like that, sort of the trend that happens about this time. But all these bands are playing live, and okay, they play live, and when you see them play live, they do guitar solos and they do drum solos. Every band has a drum solo, which is just crazy when you go to these concerts back then. And for instance, they write songs four drum solos. Like Cream wrote Toad, okay?
Hmm.
And then you know this one, Led Zeppelin wrote Moby Dick. That's the drum solo song.
Yep.
And then we got Deep Purple wrote The Mule. And the Allman Brothers do a drum solo during Mountain Jam. And the Grateful Dead do a drum solo every night and a feedback space solo afterwards with guitars. So that's the big trend for all these concerts. So it's 1971 and 72. I'm a senior in high school. And if you look at this poster here, these are all the shows that happened during that period. And that the period when I'm in high school. And so what you're seeing is all these great classic bands. Okay, we'll just go like for instance, the last time I went to the Fillmore was Johnny Winter and Jay Giles Band and Dreams. Now Dreams, the drummer is Billy Cobham of
Okay.
Dreams. So there was a jazz rock band and then this kind of blues band and then this rock and roll band. So you got this, variety. The next show I went to was that year was at Winterland. It was Grand Funk Railroad and Blood Rock, and that was when Grand Funk was just a three-piece from Detroit, and they didn't have We're an American Band. They were just like the Super Jam live album. If have you heard that album?
I have not.
Oh, it's just, one long extended jam after another uh, of just that funky Grand Funk stuff. Mainly Mark Farner is the star of that
Sure.
period. Okay, then I saw okay, so Bill Graham closes the Fillmore. He opens Winterland full time, gets rid of the ice follies. He opens Winterland Auditorium and holds 5,000 people. And then he also does shows at the Berkeley Community Theater, which holds 3,500 people. So on the 13th and 14th of September, I saw Led Zeppelin, second row seat at Berkeley Community.
Nice.
Uh, then we got Van Morrison at Winterland. We got Alice Cooper. My friend went and saw Alice Cooper, and that was like the first glam band that ever hit San Francisco. They were, considered glam back then.
Hmm.
Okay. Then I saw Black Sabbath with Edgar Winter, White Trash. That was the Masters of Reality tour. Then I saw the Allman Brothers with Dwayne Allman 2 weeks before he passed away. Then Pink Floyd, they played in October, but I saw them in the following September,
Hmm.
in 72, which was the Metal tour. And then we had Traffic. Well, then, yeah, Traffic. And then we had the great Jeff Beck group that was with Cozy Powell, Rough and Ready tour with Billy Preston opening up.
Nice.
And then the Who was Who's Next tour at San Francisco Civic, which was a different auditorium. It was like an old basketball arena. And then, so now we go into 72. We got the Grateful Dead on New Year's. I went to that show. And then we got Humble Pie with Edgar Winter. Now, this is Edgar Winter with Ronnie Montrose on guitar. They only come out at night
Yeah.
tour. And then I saw BB King, and Freddie King, which was amazing to be able to see two of the Kings. I'd already seen Albert King, so I saw all three Kings. And then after that, we had the Rolling Stones with Stevie Wonder
Cool.
at Winterland, which was amazing. Exile on Main Street tour. Then I saw Dave Mason. He was really good back then. The Pointer Sisters singing with him. And then the most amazing show of all was Deep Purple in Black Oak, Arkansas, uh,
Nice.
which was the Machine Head tour. It was
Uh,
like 6 weeks before Made in Japan was recorded.
Wow.
It was just amazing.
I'm
And then
sure.
Jethro Tull was thick as a brick, but it was really Aqualung was what I was into. And then Procol Harum with Mahavishnu Orchestra. And then, oh, I missed this one. Emerson, Lake and Palmer with Mahavishnu and Blues Project. That was at Winterland. My friend of
Oh,
mine went to that show. So back then, okay, and then Yes. I saw Yes later on, but there's Yes. They were playing at Berkeley Community. And we didn't consider Yes, we didn't even use the term prog. We considered Yes was just Yes, just another rock band,
right.
you know. And the other thing is, we call it the big three: Zeppelin, Purple, and Sabbath, right?
Yep.
Well, I considered back then, I had the first four Jethro Tull albums. I considered Tull as one of the heavier bands. is the fourth heavy band, and not Uriah. Everybody
Okay.
likes Uriah Heep, but I consider Tull was the fourth band, but that was just me back then. And then at the end of the year, David Bowie showed up and played uh, 2 nights, and T-Rex played with Poco and the Doobie Brothers. So I mean, all the bands I've named are just the classics
They
of
are.
of the
And
whole '70s, really, and they continue. Most of them continued through.
a lot of eclectic mixes in those shows, Chris.
Yeah, I just wanted the viewers to see what it was really like because when I'll hear like Chris Allo talk about Black Sabbath. Oh, I really wanted to see Masters of Reality. Well, I saw it. I was there. Or Machine Head. I saw that tour, and just my friend Dale Roberts saw them in January in L.A. And Lars from Metallica saw them in Copenhagen, and I saw them in San Francisco. And all three of us described that show as the most explosive, incredible concert ever. I mean, that is the best show I've ever been to out of all of the 3,000 shows I've been involved with.
Well, I
Uh,
know Pete will love hearing that because he's a
yeah, it
huge
was
Purple guy.
just unbelievable. Ian Gillian comes out and they're doing that intro to Highway Star. And
Oh
they do
yeah.
that beat thing, and he takes the microphone stand and he just throws it at the audience, and he steps on the three prong, and it just flies back in his hand, and they just break into Highway Star, and it was just incredible. And
Sure.
Richie Blackmore's throwing his guitar up in the air and catching it right on the note. I
Yep.
mean, in the middle of a solo. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So it was just one of the best shows I ever saw in my life. I just had to talk about that. Okay,
Absolutely.
so let's go to the next one here, and we're going to get back to the jam here. So this is the jam one-off jam bands, okay?
Hmm.
And we had Derek and the Dominoes, which is Dwayne Allman and Eric Clapton, and the song Layla.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know, I want your opinion on this. I think it's the best classic rock song of all time. What do you think, Eric?
I would have to think about that. I mean, I love what Dwayne does in that. Just his slide playing is beautiful. Uh, it's a contender, right? I mean, it's got to be up there for sure.
Well, like that Sydney, they were doing a show on one of Pete's shows, and Sydney said she thought it was a classic rock, the best classic rock
Okay.
song or one of. And Martin Popoff just shot her down. I was like, man, I'm with Sydney. I think it's one of the greatest, but that's just my opinion.
Sure.
And then the Super Session was recorded in '68, came out in '69, but it's just a classic. Mike Bloomfield from the Paul Butterfield Blues Band is is on this, and he plays. Let's see, Super Session, Mike Bloomfield. He does the song Holy Modal, and it's 9 minutes and 17 seconds. And they do Season of the Witch with Stephen Still, just 11:08. And that's just a great kind of blues rock jam album. Now we got Band of Gypsies, which is a one-off band, but it was Hendrix's jam band. And that particular night, they played 4 shows in the Fillmore East on New Year's Eve and New Year's. And it was with Buddy Miles and Billy Cox on bass.
Yep.
And the machine gun on there it's 12 minutes and 39 seconds. It's just the most incredible guitar solo ever. And I think Pete would agree with me on that one.
We'll
It's
find
the,
out.
well, I've heard him say that. That's why I'm quoting him. But then the second one where he's in the yellow outfit on the right on his knees is a double album. It's called Live at Fillmore East, and it's got that machine gun, and it's also got Stone Free, a really great version. And then this other one, I gotta find the name of this. It's this goofy name. It's called Songs from Groovy Children Fillmore East. It's a 5 CD set, that orange one,
Okay.
and it's all five. It's all 4 nights or
All the
four
shows.
performances plus the encore, and it has 3 machine guns, and you can see how Hendrix develops the song. By the time he does the third one, it's just a masterpiece. And then the second Stone Free is just amazing on there. Even though Buddy Miles is doing a scat, it's still amazing. Okay, let's get to the next one here. So we got Funkadelic's Maggot Brain. It's the all-time psychedelic soul brother music, and it's P Funk, Parliament Funkadelic, There's the two albums below, and they are a jam band that still plays today with George Clinton.
Yep.
And I've done many shows. They do 3 hour shows and they just start and they never stop. And but Maggot Brain, if you listen to it, it's got a Hendrix guitar tone to it. And you smoke a doobie, put on the headset, close your eyes, and you go to outer space. I mean, what more do I need to say about that? And now this other album, Spirit, 12 Dreams of Dr. Sirgonagus, is just a great album. And Ian Pace from Deep Purple considers it one of the great prog albums.
Really?
I
Okay.
consider it just a great album, period. And it has all the elements of a jam band on it. And then, of course, Traffic, Low Spark of High Heel Boys, which is the one if you want to get one. That's the Traffic album. And these other two albums on the left
Hmm.
are it's Welcome to the Cantina, I think is the name of this album on the left. And that's the Dave Mason version of Traffic.
Okay.
And then the other one is On the Road, and that is the Low Spark Band without Dave Mason. So those are two live albums you should check out.
Cool.
All right, so let's go to the next page. So now we've got the true jam bands. The big three would be the Grateful Dead, Santana, and the Allman Brothers Band. So in 72, they released Europe 72. And then in 71, they released the Skull album with the skull on the cover. Now, the Skull album has a 21-minute version of the other one on it, but it's also got all this country western and like rock and roll stuff on it, like
Yep.
Not Fade Away and Johnny Be Good and, Mama Tried. And in Europe 72, let me go back to my notes here. Let's see, where are we? Europe 72 has Truckin', a 13-minute version of Truckin', and a 7-minute prologue jam. So, but it also has a bunch of country rock stuff on it too. So the Dead have what they're doing is they're creating this genre by doing blues, country, Americana, jam, psychedelic, rock, all in one. And then they're playing these 3 hour shows and they're selling them out. And the Deadheads are coming back night after night, and they've just created this genre. Now, the Allman Brothers are following suit. They released a Fillmore East, and then they released Eat a Peach, this album on the bottom. And that is got let's see, how long is that one? A 33-minute and 44-second mountain jam, two sides of the album. And it's just an instrumental jam. But then they got all these hits on it too,
Yep.
like Ain't Wasting Time and Melissa. And then you've got Brothers and Sisters. After Dwayne Allman passed away, they created that band with Chuck Leavell, and he's now in the Rolling Stones.
Yep.
And
With Sea Level too, right?
yeah, Sea Level,
Sea Level.
correct.
Okay.
I think I have them on and I mentioned them in our Fusion crossover show. But anyway, they end up doing Ramblin' Man, which is kind of a country rocker, and then Southbound,
Hmm.
and then they do Jessica, which is a amazing instrumental. And Jessica is 7 minutes and 2 seconds. So that's Brothers and Sisters. So they're doing the same thing as the Dead. They're playing all variety of music, plus these big jams, plus huge drum solos and all that stuff.
Yep.
You know, now we got Santana Caravanserai, the one in the middle,
Mhm.
and then we've got the orange one with Buddy Miles in Hawaii, which is just a jam album. And then we got Moonflower, which is kind of a greatest hits live album. It's not the classic Santana band, but it's a great album with all kinds of like 12-minute versions of stuff like Black Magic Woman and Soul Sacrifice
Yep.
and then some of their other, you know, other stuff, their poppier stuff or other funkier stuff. But Caravanserai is a departure into the world of jazz and rock. And I think it's one of my favorite Santana albums of all. And I believe that this is where the music started, the rock group started to change. And like at the Fillmore, you had like Herbie Hancock or Miles Davis would play there. And I think bands like Santana picked up on their vibe and started adding that to their music,
Sure.
especially on Caravan, which have you heard that one?
Oh yeah, I got it right here. That's
Yeah, it's great. One
that's
of the
my
great.
favorite Santana as well.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay, cool. All right. So should we go to my five favorites out of these?
Yes, I this I look forward to, Chris, because this is my homework. So I got to
Okay,
make
here
sure
we
I know
go.
these.
So you probably have them all, but I don't
I
know.
I don't have the spirit. That's the only one I
Okay.
don't have.
So we got Derek and the Dominoes, Band of Gypsies with the machine gun on it, The Spirit, which is great, and it's kind of like a concept album. Then Caravanserai, and then Eat a Peach, which is I got Eat a Peach when I graduated from high school. One of my best friends gave it to me. So okay, so do you want to do
Well, I thought, why don't you give the Bill Graham quote you were telling me about? Uh,
oh, the Bill Graham quote?
yeah,
Okay.
his
Yeah, that's a great
it's
quote.
kind of a funny quote. Yeah.
All right. So Bill likes the Grateful Dead a lot. He books them all the time. And he loves the Allman Brothers. And he says, the Allman Brothers sound like the Dead, but they're in tune. I thought that was pretty funny.
That is pretty funny.
But it is kind of, because the Dead have this weird, mix of strings that sound so different than any other band, which I believe attracts the Deadheads,
Yeah,
where the Allman Brothers kind of have the straight up sound of just blasting rock and jazz and,
right.
blues.
It's
So the
pretty funny
difference
though.
between the two. So shall we go to Trigon?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Well, you've got so with the audience, as the show progresses, my vision for the show is to talk about bands that are current. Not that we won't go back and revisit the classic bands, because once you kind of get through the history, obviously we want to do shows on the Dead, specific things, shows on the Allman Brothers. But part of this is there's so much going on out there now that I feel like there's bands we want to expose that people may not know about. So this actually was a recommendation from Ken Golden. Ken had sent me their Bandcamp link and said, check these guys out. Unfortunately, this is only available on LP. I think it was released at the end of 2024, but it is a band called Trigon. I believe they're from Germany, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. And Chris, you and I kind of had a back and forth on this. So why don't I let you go first? We both listened to this album a bunch of times to kind of just discuss it. So let me know your thoughts on this one.
Okay, I've completely forgot the name of the songs because I listened to it a month ago.
I think there's only four.
Yeah, there's
To be
only
honest with
four,
you.
but
Yeah,
I don't have them written down on my
that's all right.
sheet.
Yeah, just talk about the album.
Okay, so the first song is the whole album side. It's like 20 minutes,
Right.
right? And I'm listening to the song and I'm like, wow, this guy sounds kind of like Hendrix. He's got this Hendrix thing going. And towards the end of the song, I'm going, wow, he sounds like John McLaughlin. That or McLaughlin, however you're pronouncing it, that
Yes.
guy's name. Uh, and so, but then all of a sudden, and he has this thing where he's just up and down the neck, and it's just hypnotizing because he just does these repeated licks over and over and over, right? But they all vary, so it's almost like a hypnotism of sound
Yeah.
coming at you. But it's pleasureful. And then I went, you know what? Frank Marino.
Um,
He reminded me of Frank Marino from Mahogany Rush.
I wouldn't
And
argue
because
with that.
that's what Frank does. He can just play anything.
Yeah, he's
This
fantastic.
guy is comparable to Frank Marino. Now, the second side, the first song, I didn't like it. I don't know, it
Okay.
was kind of weird. It has some weird rhythm. The and then the next song had a lot of wah-wah pedal, and then the other one had a lot of reverb in it. But uh, and I thought they were both good songs, the last two. So what did you think of it?
I kind of had the same thing. I love that tone because it's almost like he's using those old fuzz face because you were
Right,
mentioning Frank Marino. So that's kind of the sound you get. And then, like you said, there's kind of and obviously that opening track, 20 minutes long, that's kind of the feature. That's what's going to bring into the album.
right.
But you get flanger, you get wah wah pedal. I mean, he's using all those old classic effects that the guitar players used back then. Definitely that psychedelic feel. And like you said, it kind of gets in that hypnotizing. He's just ripping and the band's just kind of rolling through with him. But I don't know. I really enjoyed this. It's got some spacey elements to it. Um, but obviously the guitar is up front. That's the feature of this band.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I actually picked up two other CDs from them based on getting this one through Ken. But I think he's terrific. I love the tone. I love that approach. Just let it rip. And I did go out and read about it, Chris, and it does sound like basically at least that opening track was a fully improvised studio jam that they recorded. So I mean, you're getting these guys off the cuff. I'd love to hear it live now. You know what I mean? You kind of get that one. So
It has a little bit of the maggot brain
right.
sound.
Yeah, exactly.
That's similar. I mean, if you're going to refer to one of the albums that I talked about earlier,
Definitely.
yeah. Like I said, I mean, you ever seen Frank Marino play? I mean, I've done some shows with him, and I mean that like was in Santa Cruz, and I guess he thought, oh, I'm near where Santana lives, right?
Yep.
So or whatever, the home of Santana down in South Bay there in San Francisco, and so he just would like be ripping something, and then just fluidly go into like Soul Sacrifice and the jam, and then back into another, I mean, the guy is like slippery like glass
Ab-
over his notes, man. I mean, and this guy's similar,
Absolutely.
a very hypnotizing sound. All
So
right. Well, I'm
yeah,
glad we got to review that on this show.
check these
Should we,
guys out. You know, it's like I said, you can go out on Bandcamp and check them out. And if you dig it, help support the music and pick it up for yourself. Like I said, it's only available on vinyl. So more than likely, if you don't have the old record player out, you gonna have to download this one. But definitely check them out. I think they're a great band. And Chris, why don't you I know you're going out on tour with Almond Bets, and why don't you, if you have anything to say about that, and then maybe bring up the topic for the next episode we're going to do.
okay, let's bring it back to us. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we're done with the slideshow. Okay, I'm assuming I'm on the screen with you there.
We're good.
Okay. Um, yeah, I'm going out with Almond Bets. We're going to do a kind of a Midwest tour. We're playing some bigger venues than we did last year. And I've been advancing the shows, and we're doing 21 shows. And we do some East Coast stuff too.
Cool.
So we're doing a lot of theaters and some outdoor venues. So I'm really looking forward to that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I do the revival every year with them, which we have a lot of guest stars come in, and we do November, December. So look for that tour
Awesome.
also. That's a lot. We do the Beacon, and we do Boston, and more the Allman Brothers circuit on
Great
that tour.
venues. Great venues.
Yeah, yeah, I love playing those big theaters, man. They're so nice. So yeah, and then of course uh, I've got a YouTube channel, Brotherhood of
Yeah.
Light Show Current. I didn't really get that out last time, and I just want to make sure. Although I'm really concentrating on these shows with you, and I'm not doing anything on that channel right now.
But
So
you've got content out there. Go out and check, Chris's website out or the YouTube
yeah,
site, and you can see some of the things he's done. So make sure to do that.
yeah,
And
I cover our tours, and I cover some of these bands I've talked about and the stories I told on this show. So it's similar, and then I also cover uh, the light show stuff because that's what I do as a projection light show for the
cool.
bands and lighting. So
So we are going to try to get an episode filmed so that we have something ready while Chris is out on tour. If that doesn't happen, Chris will have to skip one, but Chris will be back to follow up. We've got more on the 70s. Chris has a fusion episode planned, so that makes me very happy. And we're going to keep going. So I'd like to thank everyone for watching. And Chris, again, thank you. I know you've done a lot of work on this, so I really appreciate all the work you've done. Um, uh, Everything
yeah,
looks
we're gonna cross over from this jam San Francisco stuff into more fusiony progressive rock, and then eventually into the fusion because people were buying records of people just jamming out, in the 70s.
absolutely.
So, and
All
then
right.
we go to the 90s. So,
Well, yes, we will get there.
yeah,
Progressively, we'll get there, right?
right. We'll get there eventually.
Okay. All right. Well,
Okay,
thank
cool.
you, Chris, for everything. Again,
Yeah,
appreciate all
right
the
on.
work and make sure to visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We are on Facebook and YouTube all the damn
All the damn
time.
time.
Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can be alerted to all the content that is coming out on the channel. And check out the links below. There's membership options, Ko-Fi. You can channel donations. Pete will do a cameo appearance for you if you'd like to have Pete wish someone a happy birthday or any kind of special event. So make sure to check out those links. But of course, we always appreciate all the viewers, everybody for watching the show. So take care, enjoy this episode, and we will be back with another episode of Let's Jam.
Let's jam.